Okay, so let's talk about The Flash. It's been a long time coming, but we're finally here. We finally have received the movie, and I went into the screening last night thinking, please let this be the final cut, because I've been hearing that at CinemaCon they didn't show the final cut. At the screenings this previous week they didn't show the final cut. So I was just wondering, will we get the final cut a week before the premiere? Because they were saying that the premiere, which is on the 12th, was going to have the full cut only. But apparently we did get the final cut last night. I don't know. But if that's the final cut, let's just put it into words. So I think that The Flash is definitely a movie that needs to be watched for sure. 100%. That's the whole truth right there. Before we get any further into it, however, we do have a giveaway going on right now. So all you have to do is be subscribed and comment below you want to enter the giveaway. At 28,000 subscribers, we will announce the winner. But let's get back into the review. So this is a movie that I think definitely works 100% due to the acting. I think the acting really puts this together because you have this movie that's over 2 hours and 20 minutes that it just has so much going on. And that can be a good and that can be a bad thing at the same time. It can feel bloated and it can feel bloated. And you know what? Movies are being made for longer run times now, and that's just the case. Across the Spider-Verse is about the same time at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that's a movie that also is very big in itself, very maximalist, if you will. But before we get into my thoughts and opinions on the runtime and all of that, let's get back into the acting, which I say is the highlight of the movie. Ezra Miller does an amazing job at portraying Barry Allen, and I really did think that they were able to hit all of the beats emotionally here, whether it was the more emotional scenes, the funny scenes, and all of that. In this movie you have two Barry Allens, and I really liked how Ezra was able to give two Barry Allens two very different personalities, and it was like very interesting to see Ezra acting with Ezra and still have that emotional aspect behind it all as well. I think that Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle, who are also in this movie, were great. I will say that Michael Keaton, however, has some points in the movie where it feels too much like he's a toy and he's just saying these lines. And I get it. You know what? I get it. There are these moments that people want for nostalgia and all of that. And you know what? It's fine. But at times it was just a little weird, especially because there was these like very long moments of dialogue with the other characters. And then that one-liner came in and, you know, that's just my opinion, but I still think that Michael Keaton is still one of the best characters in the movie for sure. I mean, he is the main character, of course, but the introduction to Michael Keaton is one of my favorite scenes from The Flash. It was just so well done, and honestly, I need a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton and whoever else you get to play Terry, because I think that we definitely have a great old Bruce Wayne in Michael Keaton. Very much so enjoyed his performance here. It was just those one-liners that were getting a little bit too redundant around the film. Sasha Calle as well is a character I felt could have had a little bit more time to really showcase. We do get an amazing performance from her in the little minutes we do get of Sasha Calle, which I found to be quite disheartening because I wanted to see more of Sasha Calle's Supergirl, who I thought was just an amazing character, as well as her performance, like I said, was amazing in this. There is an emotional part with her and General Zod, and I really did vibe with that whole scene right there, because I really feel like we can definitely get something very awesome if they were to ever develop a Supergirl series or a Supergirl movie, or just have her in the movies in the upcoming future. And we'll get more into that in my spoiler review, because that's gonna kind of go into spoilers, talking about why I think this movie kind of like defeats that purpose of Supergirl, but we'll talk about that in my spoiler review. I do also want to say that this movie is one of the most comic book feeling movies I've ever seen, and that's a good thing, honestly. I think that there were a lot of these moments here that just feel like they were straight ripped off from a panel and just put on the big screen, which is great. I love when comic book movies feel like a comic book movie, you know? I think we are already past, well, I am past the whole gritty, grounded reality type comic, and I want to go more into those exuberant and very much so like eye-popping comic book panel feeling movie, something that I know just feels so extravagant. That's exactly what I want, and The Flash has many of those moments in its film, and also a lot of humor. The humor works great here as well. It doesn't really try to shy away from being a little edgier, and that's always good, but it doesn't try to be edgy as well. That's always a thing. Looking at you, the idol. Now, I talked about some of the good, I put some of the bad in there as well, but let's just talk about the bad right now, which is the biggest thing, is the CGI is a little wonky in a lot of the scenes here, and some of them look great. So there's some sequences here that just look amazing, like I said, but some of the sequences here are just a little bit too wonky looking, and I heard a lot of people in my theater as well talking about them. There's just something that kind of feels uncanny to look at that happens a lot in this movie, and I don't want to talk about what it is specifically, not to give any spoilers, but it happens throughout the movie, a couple of sequences, and it just looks really weird, the CGI. And I don't know if that's just a sort of artistic expression that Andy Muschietti wanted to have, or it's just bad CGI. You know, that was a very weird thing to look at, that kind of took you out of those scenes as well, that were supposed to be a little bit more emotional, I feel. Third act as well was very cluttered. It was very messy, convoluted, and it really takes you out, especially when there is a moment where there's this big emotional aspect of the film happening, and then it's just like, well, never mind, let's look at this instead. Like, it just happens like that, and I feel like it tried to do so many things all at once, and you know what, it can work, it does, but I don't know what it was, whether it was the writing, the pacing of that last final act. It just felt like, what is going on? What is the whole point of all of this anymore? And that was something that kind of did take away from me watching the movie as well. And I feel like the last act could have had a little bit more, especially when it came to the look of it, the cinematography and the visuals. I think they could have been amped up a little bit more, because it kind of feels like it's been washed out. And I really do think that it's time for Hollywood to move from that washed out feel when it comes to things. And you know what? That's why I'm kind of happy we do have James Gunn now at the helm of DC, because I think that James Gunn does so well with colors and has an amazing palette. So I'm curious to see how DC looks post James Gunn now. And my final thing is the cameos, which is also a good thing, but it also was a bad thing, I feel. I feel like No Way Home has sort of set this precedent that the theaters and the studios and all of that want these like cheering like moments now in theaters where people stand up, clap, whatever. And you know what? I'm not trying to be like a negative like person about these things and all of that. I do get excited. I do get happy. I do smile, clap, all of that. But you know, I feel like the studio saw what No Way Home did, the virality of it, and they're like, I want that in my movie now. And I think that this is exactly what we get with The Flash, because there are cameos that are overloaded here that just feel like they were put in there for the sake of getting those pops and those reactions. And of course, it makes sense in a business way and all of that. I'm never going to knock the studios, because they just look at money, and money is what is going to make studios make more movies. But at the end of the day, it just feels like, are we just getting these cameos for cameo's sake, or do they actually mean something? And there was one cameo in particular I really did enjoy, but there were some in there that I felt were just put in there to just be put in there. But, you know, we'll talk about that in my spoiler review. Overall, this is a huge movie. It is bloated to the max, and I just don't know what exactly DC was going for, especially with the ending and the post-credit scene. But what do I think about the movie? I enjoyed it. I did. I had a lot of fun with it. It was very much so a movie where Ezra Miller showcases their acting range, and I really did enjoy seeing also Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle in this, and I want to see more of those two characters in the DC future. Should Andy Muschietti be directing the Batman Bold and the Brave movie? I would definitely be inclined to believe he would be great at that. I think that the scenes he did with Ben Affleck's Batman really show what he can do with a Batman movie, and if that's the case, then I want to see more. Overall, we did enjoy The Flash, and we definitely do recommend it, especially if you're a DC fan, comic book fan, all of that. We recommend this movie 100%, and we give The Flash a 3.5 out of 5. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on the movie, if you're excited or not. Let me know if you watched it already, and what did you think about it. But those were just my things. I just wish the CGI was better cleaned up. They didn't make Michael Keaton throw in those one-liners all the time, and that third act was just a little bit more polished, and I think you would have had an amazing movie for sure. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, we are running the giveaway like I said. All you have to do is be subscribed and comment below, I want to enter the giveaway. That gets you an entry into the giveaway. And as always, that is going to do it for me on the road to 30,000 subscribers. At 20,000, we will announce a winner for the giveaway though, so stay tuned. As always, stay safe, stay positive.